Thank you so much for tuning back in. It is Taylor Bridges here, and I'm back with another review of Ready to Love Season 7. This is episode 11, Two Truths and a Lie. Yes, I'm a week late with the video. I took a week. I was just exhausted, and I didn't feel like watching anything at all. But I'm back, and I feel much more rested, and I'm more energetic, and I'm excited. Last episode, I think I predicted Sue-Ann would be going home, and that's who they send home, which was a great choice. Blake should have been out the door behind her, because didn't he ask her if she would leave if he got eliminated? Blake has lost his mind. Who is this connection if Sue-Ann is gone, and why doesn't he feel like a weirdo for being there? Lyndon says Tony's been making Morgan uncomfortable to be around him and interact with him. And I think Lyndon should just take that as a hint. There are plenty of other contestants there who have multiple connections and have no issue mingling with both. No one has made a decision yet. Jeffrey looked really cute in her green jumpsuit. Anthony is talking to Mercedes, but it honestly seems kind of forced between them. And why is Mercedes here if she's not ready to be in a serious relationship? That's confusing. But maybe her and Mark Anthony are just looking for a good time in each other. Anthony then goes to the corner of the pool alone with Cynthia, trying to hone in on her. And Cynthia says, she knows where she stands with Anthony, but she has this non-verbal connection with Andre. But I think they've been dating long enough to be able to verbalize where they are with each other. I think Cynthia should go with the sure connection, even though I'm no longer sure about her and Anthony being a match, but it's better than dealing with Andre, whose feelings for her fluctuate. And he's really intimidated by her success, her strength, her mentality. So it's just too serious for him. But Cynthia should be seeing this. And if anything, she should be going with the person who's giving her the certainty. They're talking, and Anthony smashes his wet beard onto Cynthia's face, and they kiss, kind of. They mostly rub faces, but it was the first time they've done this, and they even said they wouldn't kiss each other until they found their person. So I don't know, something about Anthony is making me feel like he's just trying to get to the end. Everyone, all of y'all has been seeing this. All y'all have been seeing this in Anthony, except me until now. But I don't know, Anthony. They obviously, pardon me, are going to pick each other in the end. So we'll just have to see how they are by the time we get to the reunion, before I can tell or believe that Anthony is really feeling Cynthia. But Anthony does make Cynthia all smiley and giggly, and I love that for her. Blake is now basically telling the men that he's about to self-eliminate. There's a knock at the door, and Tony says he suspected it was Marcia there to bust down the door. That's how much he misses her and still wishes he can be in the process with her. And Morgan needs to leave him alone after hearing what she already heard at dinner. But she's not. But for the life of me, I can't imagine. I still can't fathom Tony choosing Marcia over Morgan if Marcia were even still there. He was mostly into Morgan. So I don't know what game Tony is playing or where his head at. What is he talking about? A message from Tommy is in the envelope. They're instructed. It was so stupid. You'd think it was about to be some big deal. It was literally telling them to make candles. And that was even boring. Come harder. Usually at these couples retreat trips, it goes down. They didn't even really need, at least last season, they had the activity with the whole, which woman knows the man better or something like that. Remember where you had to answer questions about your dude, which does he prefer? Something like that. Or they could have just sat around and, continued being messy in the living room, drinking some wine. I don't know, but the candles were stupid. Where is Morgan? She was wearing that black dress. I don't know where she was going. She looked great. She was overdressed. And when you are not dressed for the occasion, it doesn't matter how grand or beautiful a dress is, you can still look tacky. She was wearing it looked overdressed to me. And then, therefore it made the outfit look tacky because you don't know when to wear the dress. You don't know what occasion this calls for. She goes back to the pool room where Lyndon is. In her confession, she says she's worried about Lyndon's age and lifestyle. And just based off this scene with her dressed in a gown and him in super casual, chill clothing, I doubt they'd even match each other's flying vibe. I think Lyndon is just infatuated with Morgan's beauty. And since she hasn't turned him down officially, he's taking it as a sign to keep persisting. And because he thinks he has a chance, it makes him like Morgan more. Especially since no other women there are giving him the time of day. I think Morgan likes the attention Lyndon gives her, since Tony is too self-absorbed to really give her that gentility and that peace of mind and those compliments and affirmation. But Lyndon is adorable. I think he expressed himself very well to Morgan, telling her how he felt about her essentially coddling Tony and leaving, Lyndon hanging. And I thought that was very attractive. Being able to express yourself in a calm, respective manner. It's a bare minimum, and it's required of humans, but Tony doesn't understand that. He didn't get that memo, and Morgan hasn't caught on to that. Morgan starts crying about needing to deal with two guys at once, and I think Morgan never wanted Lyndon. I don't think Morgan ever wanted Lyndon, so I think she should just save it. Lyndon tells Morgan that Tony's bad for her, but Morgan does not care. Morgan sees all the red flags that we see, and she's choosing to ignore it. Pardon me. I have my heater at my feet, so it's making me all cozy, and it causes me, I yawn often anyway, but anyways, I don't even know why Lyndon would want to even deal with somebody as chaotic as Morgan, who's willing to deal with somebody as chaotic and controlling as Tony. I think Lyndon should just self-eliminate at this point. Morgan comes back outside to make a candle, and she just starts getting emotional over hurting Lyndon and still being into Tony, even though he's made a fool of her. Morgan's self-esteem needs to enter the chat. Morgan, your self-esteem needs to enter the chat. Is it that serious? Is it that serious to be going out like this? Mark Anthony tells Tony that Morgan has been getting all emotional, and Tony pops up in the room, but to see what's going on. But Morgan doesn't really actually tell him why she's upset. I wish she would be more clear with him, because Tony's a meathead and he's not going to read between the lines. But you just sitting there, Morgan, being just like looking at him like, he's like, what's up? And you just, like, Tony is not able to logicize through your huffing and puffing. You're going to have to speak English. Even in Tony's confessional, he says he feels like Morgan is just acting this way because she enjoys having two men fight over her. Now, that's true. Tony knows Morgan really doesn't like Lyndon. And I think he's frustrated that he has to share her with him in the meantime because of that reason. But Tony is totally lacking accountability for how he's made Morgan feel. Sans Lyndon, with the absence of Lyndon, Tony admitted to not only being more into Marcia, but he pretty much passed Morgan off like an option to somebody else. I think that's careless, and I don't think that's protective of a man who supposedly likes you and would want to date you. And I think Tony is corny for playing stupid. I think he's not even just like avoiding accountability because he's on camera. I think he probably is always like this in everyday life, which is a huge red flag. But the more red flags he portrays, the more Morgan likes him. Andre still talks about Mercedes as if she's an ex who scorned him. Let it go. They all end up having a pajama party. Jeffrey comes out in what I think was supposed to be like sexy lingerie, but it looked like she was just wearing regular bedtime clothes with a just fur shawl thing on. It wasn't lingerie, was it? Tony isn't participating like the little brat that he is. That sort of behavior is so unattractive. Here's an environment with all these couples who are hugged up, having a nice moment, but Tony has to be the difficult one, the single wolf, the apple from the bunch. All difficult, hanging in the room, leaving Morgan to hang, looking even more stupid for even wanting to still deal with him. To me, that's just embarrassing to your partner. If you can't go with the flow of the group, no one likes a temperamental group member. We all just trying to have fun. You know what I mean? Like, do not go on a couples trip with Tony and Morgan because they clearly are drama filled. Jeffree made her candle for Andre, and that's fine. But when Marc Anthony makes his candle for Mercedes, it's a problem for Jeffree. Jeffree says that gesture of Marc Anthony's with him making the candle for Mercedes was him showing his ego a little bit. And I don't know why can't it just be the exact same reason you gave for giving Andre the candle instead of Marc Anthony? Anthony gives his candle to Cynthia, and Cynthia made 2. Anthony didn't like that, but I think he's being fake territorial. He's doing how Tony is doing Morgan, applying pressure since he only has one option left. Andre made one for Cynthia that was supposed to speak to catching his attention the first day. He also gives a candle to Jeffree that speaks to her having Andre's heart and him having access to her heart. And these 2 candles are pretty much consistent with how Andre has been saying that he's feeling. Cynthia is another one who needs to let it go. Stop chasing behind Andre. Cynthia, you cannot be chasing behind 2 emotionally unavailable men. Anthony is plenty all by himself. Just focus on Anthony. So far, the getaway has been boring. So far, other than Tony and Lyndon really going at it. Usually these trips are messy and entertaining, but it was so boring. I would have asked for my whole weekend back if I had to film. They could have had a better time just having drinks out in Miami, honestly. The next morning, Tony and Morgan are speaking, and he tells her he gets emotional about her. Before he even finishes, I'm already knowing that he's about to be full of it. And he is still not going to take accountability. Regardless of you being emotional about me, you still talked crap about me behind my back and played me as a last resort. Apologize for that and only that, for starters. Then you need to apologize for your behavior at the dinner table. Then you need to apologize for your behavior thereafter. But that's just not the kind of behavior Morgan requires. So she's definitely not about to ask for it. Morgan is still telling Tony about putting in the work when the process is already done, pretty much. Like, we're done. Morgan, you're really going to go out pretty much begging this man to pay attention to you the whole season? Because that's what she's been doing. That's how you're going to let this end? That's how you're going to let your story end? You begging Tony for time and attention this whole season? Morgan asked Tony why should she choose to be with him. And he says the same thing he always says. They have a spiritual connection. But he adds how he's a protector and a provider. But those are just words. And your actions have already proved that you can't back those words up. Morgan says Tony is crazy about her. Tony's crazy, yes. He's attracted to you, yes. He wants to win this game show, yes. But let's see about how they fare by the time we get to reunion. Morgan needs to spare Lyndon and stop playing games, leading this man on. But Lyndon also needs to stop being so thirsty and open his eyes. Blake ends up speaking to Tommy to pretty much tell him he's self-eliminating. I don't find it necessary to do a deep dive on it. Let's just see if he and Sue Ann are still dating by the reunion, though I highly doubt it. Mercedes and Marc Anthony are meeting up for a date. The winner gets a kiss, so regardless, they're going to be kissing. Mercedes flat out asks Marc Anthony if he's looking for something serious long term. And Marc Anthony says yes. I don't know. I think they're both just go with the flow people. And as long as Mercedes is okay with going with the flow for an extended period of time, I do like them together. They've been feeling each other since day one. And I think they mesh quite well. I think they genuinely get along really, really well. The ladies are all in the ladies' lounge. And before they start talking, I immediately assume Lyndon will be going home. Morgan calls Lyndon her safe space. And I don't see why people think it's cool to hold somebody like as their number 2 in the cut when feelings are involved. Like, outside of this show, like in real life, I don't see why people do that. Like, oh, this is just my safe space, but you're giving all your time, attention, vagina, and everything to this dude that's not giving you any of that. That's not cool. Spare the good dude so he can go give that energy to someone that's going to reciprocate and appreciate it. And put that energy first as opposed to being second fiddle while you get to explore all these other people. Because that's actually like what Morgan's doing to Lyndon is what Tony did with Morgan. And it didn't make her feel good. And I've been saying since the beginning that Morgan is foolish. She's a beautiful fool. I suspect Lyndon is going home, but Anthony will also be in the bottom. They should have made this ultimately the final episode where everyone chooses who they want to be with. It's just dragging out unnecessarily, you know. Lyndon and Morgan meet, and Morgan says that Lyndon isn't very passionate with her. And I can see that, you know. Women have been saying that about Lyndon and friend zoning Lyndon since the beginning of the episode. So they get to the obvious, which is Lyndon and Morgan are not equally yoked or compatible. She's been known that. She just needed him as backup. She starts crying, they hug, then they end up sharing a kiss. And Lyndon is absolutely right. Tony is definitely going to get on Morgan for kissing him. And Morgan is just going to think it's cute and attractive and protective. So I am hoping and praying, since this was episode, I think 11, yes, I am hoping and praying that the season finale comes on and we round this out with episode 12 and get to the reunions and we can call this season a day. This was really quick. Really nothing really happened on this episode. This was probably not the worst, but the most boring episode of the season. But thank you so much for tuning in. If you could please like, comment, and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. Bye.